DNA, linking you back to places, going back generations. Now, certain ethnic groups...
DNA left behind really don't need to go cold. You know, we don't need to have these cases anymore that are decades old.
DNA, and that's the same stuff that's in all of our cells. It's basically our
DNA, and that's what we've made available. We're putting on the table £1.5 million to support that work.
What if the royal bloodline isn't what we believed? A plain, unmarked envelope arrives with no signature, carrying undeniable DNA evidence that could shake the monarchy to its core. The message? I am King Charles III's biological son. A DNA report supports the shocking claim, turning speculation into a serious royal crisis. Is there an unknown heir? What are the implications for the throne and Queen Camilla, and why the silence from Buckingham Palace? The truth is more shocking than expected. Stay with us as we uncover the clues and the alleged heir who could change royal history. Could this be the most dramatic twist in the monarchy's succession? The DNA bombshell no one saw coming.
DNA solution takes a little bit of it out, isolates your DNA out of it, and it subjects your DNA to a pretty complicated and really snazzy test.
Some secrets fade with time, others grow louder until they can't be ignored. And this one? It hit the royal family like a thunderbolt. No rumors, no media spin, no fame-hungry figure chasing headlines. This was real, concrete, backed by science. A detailed DNA test, conducted by a well-known European lab, landed in royal hands. The results? Not connected to Prince William or Harry, but directly tied to King Charles himself. With 99.9% certainty, panic followed instantly. Palace staff went silent. Journalists were stonewalled, legal advisors rushed in. But it was already too late. The story had slipped into the public's hands. And the most explosive part wasn't just the evidence, it was the timing. King Charles had just stepped into his full role. Camilla, still struggling to win over hearts, suddenly found herself in the shadow of a decades-old affair that could unravel everything. Camilla's struggle and a legacy under fire. Camilla worked hard for her spot at the top. From years of public criticism to finally being crowned queen, it was a long, painful journey.
Queen Camilla have been crowned at Westminster Abbey in London, in a ceremony packed full of music and symbolism.
But this felt like betrayal on a whole new level. King Charles hadn't just loved another woman before. He had a child with her. That child is now grown and possibly has a legitimate claim to the royal heritage. Not the throne necessarily, but to the family's legacy, its name and its story. Inside palace walls, it was chaos. Raised voices, broken heirlooms, legal threats flying fast, and King Charles, completely quiet, almost like he knew this day would come. This wasn't just scandal, it was personal, about bloodlines, about truth, and for Camilla, a devastating blow. A storm she thought she had left behind long ago. Affairs in the royal family aren't exactly rare. Secret romances and hidden letters have always existed behind the palace gates. But this situation began long before Camilla and even before Princess Diana. People remember Charles and Diana's tragic love story. They watched as Camilla rose to the crown. But very few know about the woman who came before both. She never asked for fame, never gave a single public statement.
Diana and Charles painting the new king in a bad light.
Buckingham Palace is issuing this statement. It is with regret the Prince and Princess of Wales.
Yet her presence quietly lingers, forever tied to a chapter the royals hoped would remain closed. Before Diana, the untold chapter of Lady Sarah Keell. Long before Diana became the center of royal attention, and while Prince Charles was stepping deeper into his royal duties, there was another woman who quietly played a role in his life. Her name was Lady Sarah Keell. She came from a noble background, carried herself with grace, and was admired for her intelligence and poise. Unlike many in high society, she never sought attention, and that subtle charm is what seemed to draw Charles in even more. Sarah moved within the same elite circles as Charles. They often crossed paths at formal events, gallery openings, equestrian competitions, and social fundraisers. Those who encountered her described a composed and clever woman, someone who understood how the royal world worked but never tried to manipulate it. At the time, Camilla had married Andrew Parker Bowles, and Diana was still very young. Charles, nearing 30, was under pressure from his family to marry someone suitable, settle down, and uphold the royal image. But instead of looking for a match approved by the palace, he found something genuine in Sarah. The relationship, according to insiders, lasted a quiet couple of years. They enjoyed private time at royal estates, kept in touch through trusted assistants, and reportedly even traveled together under official pretenses, including a trip to Italy in 1979 that raised eyebrows behind the scenes. There were whispers of a possible engagement, but it was allegedly dismissed by Queen Elizabeth, who viewed Sarah as too independent and strong-willed to fit the traditional royal mold. And with that, the relationship ended, silently and without public drama. Not long after, Sarah married a French diplomat and moved to Switzerland. But just before she disappeared from the royal radar, quiet rumors began to swirl, suggesting she had given birth to a child. The boy, born months after her last known meeting with Charles, was raised away from public attention. He lived comfortably, received a private education, and kept a quiet lifestyle. Though no lavish headlines followed him, signs of financial support were there. His tuition was reportedly covered by an anonymous donor, and on his 18th birthday, he received an expensive gift from someone who never stepped forward. Later, he was seen entering a legal building known for its royal connections, using a discreet back entrance. Still, nothing was confirmed. No statements, just whispers. Over time, stories of a hidden child and a love affair lost to history began to circle quietly. Some brushed it off as fantasy. Journalists avoided the topic. The palace kept quiet, never acknowledging a thing. But behind palace doors, those closest to the story never forgot. Not the few who knew, not the man rumored to be Charles's son, and certainly not the monarchy. The Queen reportedly dismissed the claims as dramatic fiction, a tale people created for entertainment. But truth has a way of surfacing, slowly and when least expected. As calls for transparency grew louder, new details began to leak. A former palace employee claimed to have delivered gifts to a woman Charles never seemed to forget. A historian was removed from his role after reportedly uncovering hidden letters inside Clarence's house, and one anonymous message to a foreign news agency insisted Charles's greatest secret bore a striking resemblance to him. Still, the palace said nothing. No comments, no clarification, just silence. Inside the royal household, tension began to mount. Camilla, known to be fiercely protective of Charles, reportedly banned any mention of Sarah behind closed doors. And when someone once asked Charles if he had a child before marrying Diana, people say his face went pale. Now, with DNA test results made public, and a man stepping into the light claiming a connection no one dared speak of for decades, the speculation can no longer be ignored. The secret is no longer tucked away, it's knocking at the palace gates. This man has no official place in royal records, no baby portraits in the family albums. But for more than 40 years, he has lived quietly on the edges of royalty. Not born from scandal, but surrounded by silence, and Camilla is about to hear every part of it. The hidden life of Sebastian David Kiel. Let's talk about a man who has quietly lived in the background of one of the world's most watched families, Sebastian David Kiel. His story isn't just mysterious, it's unsettling for those who guard the royal image. Sebastian was born in Geneva, Switzerland in early 1980, exactly 9 months after Lady Sarah Kiel made a significant visit to the UK. His official documents don't name a father. His mother, known for her noble lineage and deep desire to protect her private life, refused every media request and settled in a peaceful home near Lausanne, keeping far from any public attention. His childhood was far from ordinary. His schooling, from exclusive early education to one of Britain's top boarding schools, was fully funded through a private trust. Those who taught him said he was thoughtful, curious, and carried himself with a calm maturity far beyond his years. One teacher even remarked, "He acts like he was raised for something big, just not in the spotlight." And then there's his appearance, sharp cheekbones, intense gaze, and a royal-like expression that seemed all too familiar. He bore such a striking resemblance to a young Prince Charles that people couldn't help but notice. One teacher even joked he looked like royalty. Sebastian didn't confirm or deny it, he just smiled. In his 20s, he moved to London. Not for fame or attention, but to study. He enrolled at King's College, focusing on international law, and kept a very low profile. No social media, no flashy lifestyle, but all his needs were met. Tuition, housing, even tailored suits, all covered. His friends often questioned how he afforded everything so easily. One of them noted that Sebastian never talked about where the money came from. It just arrived reliably and without issue. Years later, leaked financial details showed the payments were linked to a private trust associated with a royal legal office, the same one known to manage the Duchy of Cornwall's finances in the past. A coincidence? Maybe, but things started to look more deliberate than accidental. Whispers began about him being seen entering and exiting Clarence House. Not through the main doors, but through hidden side entries, always at odd hours, never with fanfare. People who once worked for the royals said it was true. One veteran driver remembered overhearing a staffer warn, "If she finds out he's meeting with Charles again, there'll be trouble." The she, they said, was Camilla. Sebastian, however, has never gone public. He's never spoken to the media or filed legal action. He stayed silent, but those closest to him always felt he knew the truth about his past. One childhood friend remembered a moment when Sebastian, just 16, opened an old letter and quietly said, "Everything I've believed might be a lie." Still, he told no one, until recently. What changed? Sources claim that seeing the coronation unfold stirred something deep in him. Watching the man he believed was his father take the throne while pretending he didn't exist broke his silence. That's when Sebastian started speaking with legal experts. DNA testing followed. The outcome? No member of the royal family has acknowledged him. His name doesn't appear in any official record, but undeniable proof now exists, and it's attracting attention. You can bury a secret for decades, but in time, it grows, learns the truth, and walks straight to the palace gates, demanding to be heard. The truth behind the walls. For generations, the British royal family has been wrapped in tradition and secrecy, but nothing in their carefully controlled world could have prepared them for what arrived at a quiet legal office in Mayfair one cold morning. Inside the envelope was a verified DNA report, official, stamped, and undeniable. It confirmed that King Charles III is the biological father of a 44-year-old man the public had never heard of, Sebastian David Keel. Sebastian had quietly started searching for answers months earlier. Those close to him say he had always lived with questions but was told not to look too hard. He kept his thoughts to himself until the coronation changed everything. Watching King Charles crowned without a mention of him was the final blow. Determined to uncover the truth, he contacted a trusted genetics lab in Switzerland known for working with high-profile clients, but proving it required samples from both men. That's when a former palace butler stepped in, discreetly taking a hair from Charles's comb during a trip. Everything was done under witness and documentation. Sebastian's sample was gathered under strict lab control. The result? The test left no doubt King Charles is his biological father. Rather than go public, Sebastian chose a private, respectful route. His lawyers sent the results and a short letter directly to Clarence House, addressed to Charles himself. He asked for no title, no money, only public recognition of the truth. Inside the palace, panic followed. Events were cancelled, lawyers were called, phones rang non-stop. Not because they questioned the DNA, but because it proved what many feared. Camilla was outraged. Staff recalled her demanding answers. How had this been hidden from her for so long? Charles, on the other hand, wasn't shocked. He looked like someone who had always expected this moment. Despite efforts to keep things quiet, someone inside the legal process leaked the report. First, it hit European media, then it spread like wildfire. Headlines blew up, royal secret exposed. Charles has another son. DNA confirms hidden heir. Camilla faces her worst fear. With that, the royal silence cracked. The test was real, the results were public, and the palace's long-held control was no longer enough. A storm inside the palace. Camilla, once criticized but eventually accepted, now saw her world shaken again. Her journey from the other woman to queen had been difficult. She had fought hard for the crown. Now, just as she thought her past was behind her, it returned in the form of a man with royal blood and undeniable proof. At first, she tried to stay calm, cancelling plans, avoiding Charles, but it didn't last. Staff revealed she broke down completely, screaming, slamming doors, throwing glass across the room. Some employees left in tears. One insider said it was the most terrifying moment they had seen in the palace. It wasn't just about a hidden child, it was about what it meant for everything she had built. Sebastian, by contrast, remained calm. He didn't want fame or riches. All he wanted was to be acknowledged by his father. This quiet approach only made the public side with him more. Camilla saw this sympathy as a threat. In a private message to a friend, she reportedly wrote, "They'll call him the real heir. They'll make me look like I don't belong here." She feared being pushed aside, not by scandal or gossip, but by someone whose existence she had never prepared for, someone who had a rightful claim. Insiders say she demanded legal action, press statements, and denials. But King Charles stayed silent. That silence made it worse. Behind closed doors, the palace was no longer a place of calm control. It was a house shaken by fear, secrets, and a truth that could no longer be hidden. William and Kate's quiet strategy. As tension gripped Clarence House and Camilla's fury stirred chaos behind closed doors, Prince William and Princess Catherine chose a different path, one rooted in calm thinking and long-term focus. Their stillness wasn't indifference, it was calculated. While the palace was shaken by the news of a hidden son and the noise that followed, the Prince and Princess of Wales kept a low profile. Instead of reacting in public, they stepped back, discussed the situation privately, and approached the moment like seasoned leaders facing a complicated puzzle. It's said that William wasn't entirely surprised. Whispers about an unknown sibling had floated through royal corridors for years. He'd heard quiet chatter from staff or glanced at headlines hinting at something more, but none of it ever had solid backing. Once the truth arrived in the form of verified DNA results, William realized this was bigger than any old rumor. This wasn't just about his father, it was about public opinion, the stability of the royal family, and what people expect from the crown in today's world, where secrecy is no longer tolerated. According to those close to him, William was clear with his aides. "We're not here to create noise or drama. Let's observe and prepare." His priority was protecting the image and safety of his own children, George, Charlotte, and Louis. Their future and the monarchy's future depended on how this was handled. The unexpected appearance of a new relative had the potential to disrupt public trust. It could stir debate, shift opinions, and cast doubt on the carefully built legacy of the royal line. But William, trained from youth to manage pressure, responded with inner strength, not panic. Kate, standing beside him as always, provided steady counsel. She reminded him of the value of staying poised. Her words kept him grounded as they navigated uncertain waters. In public, their actions spoke volumes. Whether at school events, official duties, or charity functions, they appeared composed and united. Smiles were real, not forced, and their presence was warm and reassuring. Most onlookers never guessed there was a storm brewing in the background. Behind the scenes, however, Kate was already thinking ahead. Insiders revealed she had a team monitoring the media, tracking every mention of Sebastian across websites, social channels, and news outlets. They weren't trying to erase the story, but wanted to understand how it was evolving and what people really thought. Public support and private planning. What her team discovered was clear. People weren't turning against the monarchy, but their sympathy wasn't with Charles or Camilla, it was with Sebastian. He came across as honest and humble. All he seemed to want was acknowledgement, not attention or power. Public pressure started to grow. Many called for Buckingham Palace to say something. Some speculated William might reach out to Sebastian himself. Others believed he was giving his father time to make the first move, but William and Kate had learned from the pain and mistakes of the past. They had seen how silence once hurt their mother, Princess Diana, and how mishandling difficult truths could backfire. They were not about to repeat history. While Camilla battled her own emotions and Charles remained hidden from the spotlight, the next generation had already adopted a different mindset. They weren't reacting, they were preparing. With quiet steps and smart choices, William and Kate kept their focus to shield their family, protect the crown, and wait for the right moment to act. The royal illusion shattered. For a long time, it was nothing more than quiet talk, passed between a few insiders who never spoke too openly. Those who knew something avoided saying too much. But everything changed with one scientific report. A man who had lived far from the spotlight was revealed to carry the same blood as the king. His features, his manner, even his voice, there were similarities that couldn't be ignored. And now, with undeniable proof, the truth was no longer a secret. Camilla's emotional breakdown took center stage. Her loud reaction, filled with fear, frustration, and panic, revealed just how delicate her position had become. But the issue wasn't just her, it pointed to something much deeper, the weakening foundation beneath the royal image. For decades, the monarchy relied on carefully crafted narratives, media management, and tight-knit loyalty from palace aides to keep internal matters away from public view. Yet, in today's world of rapid information sharing and global scrutiny, even the most powerful institutions can't keep personal truths buried forever. Years of covering up the truth had left the monarchy vulnerable. And Charles, placed directly at the heart of this storm, chose not to speak at all. His silence echoed across the palace. Sebastian was no longer just a rumor, he was living proof of a hidden chapter, and even if he never held a title, his presence alone was enough to shake public confidence in the crown. Reports suggest that private discussions within Parliament began to circulate, raising quiet concerns about transparency and public accountability. Though no formal statements were made, insiders hinted that even loyal supporters of the monarchy felt the strain. The royal family had long presented itself as pure and untouchable, wrapped in age-old tradition. But this situation revealed another side. Behind the grand image were human flaws, secrets long buried, and choices that could no longer stay hidden. The truth had made its way to the palace, not with a sword, but with evidence no one could ignore. No matter how hard the palace tries to steer the narrative or how much William and Kate work to guard what's ahead, one thing is certain, the past can't be buried anymore. What was once hidden is now part of history. The truth has stepped into the spotlight, and it will forever leave its mark on the royal story. Thanks for being with us, and share your thoughts in the comments section.